You relying on your brain, mom brain, is not a good system. So many people think like, oh, I'm not good at systems. I'm like, no, everything's a system. You have a system. It's just not effective. Do you know that 87% of moms experience mom guilt? So whether you're feeling guilt because you're away from your kids or you're feeling guilty because you're not feeling guilty for being away from your kids, it's still all guilt and it's still not great. That's step number one. We got to get rid of that mental load. The bad thing about mom guilt is the impact that it has not only on our mindset, but also on our energy levels, our overall happiness in life. And you don't feel on top of it, and you don't feel successful, and you don't feel in control, and you feel like everything is spiraling. You're never getting back to who you were before you became a mom. Like, that is not the goal. The goal is, what's your identity now that you're a mom? What are your goals now that you're a mom? What is your definition of success and life for yourself now that you're a mom? And so when you do this, everything unlocks. You need the tools, you need the habits, you need the systems for your life to put that in place so that you can feel not like a crazy person all the time. If moms figure this out, everything changes.
Loni, before we dig into all the juicy stuff, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hey, everyone. So my name's Loni Brown, and I am a business owner. I own 2 businesses. And prior to that, I worked for a tech startup. I was an executive. So I have been on multiple sides of my career, working corporate, tech, executive work, and then also running a business. I have 3 kids. I have 2 biological daughters, 7 and 4. And then I have a bonus son who is 18 and has just started college this year. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, just hearing that you're running 2 businesses and you have 3 kids, it's just like, okay, already that is more than enough. And I'm sure that a lot of the listeners are going like, how does she do it?
Yes. Everyone asks me that. and it's honestly, it is half mindset. It's I guess a third mindset, a third systems, and then a third habits. Really, that's like my secret sauce to everything in life. And we'll talk about some of that today.
Yeah, I love that. And you are really big at systems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. A lot has to do with mindset. And if you can do so much work with your mindset and still, if you don't have the habits, if you don't have the systems, you might just be, running around in circles, right?
Yeah. It all kind of goes together. And that's why I think if you just do one thing only, it's a start, but it doesn't get you really where you need to be. I've been focused on mindset for probably the last 30 years when I first started getting into mindset. But you can still have the best mindset and still have practices around mindset. But if you don't have like the routines and the systems and the habits in your life to support that, it just doesn't work out as well as it could.
So true. What made you interested in mindset?
Yeah, so I first learned about mindset actually, I think it was in high school. I was an athlete. When you're an athlete and when you're playing any kind of sport, it is half physical and it's half mental. The best athletes, their mental game is just as strong as their like physical game. And so I first learned about mindset and just like that area back in high school when I was a runner. I ran cross country and track. And I mean, it is a mental game. Like we would in cross country, we would have to run these huge hills, and you're like running as fast as you can. I mean, people are literally like vomiting at the finish line. Like it's such a hard thing to do. And what I learned though back then is just studying like athletes is that a lot of it is mental. They always say like mind over matter. I think our coach would say that all the time, like mind over matter, like it's 3 miles, like you can do it, And so I learned about that. I learned about, okay, what is meditation? Like, how do you get your mind over matter? Like, what does that mean? How does that happen in actual practice? And so I learned about meditation way back then, and I didn't really get into it into the way that like I am now, because it was a little back then, it was definitely like a little woo woo and a little like, what is this? But I understood that like your mind and calming your mind and calming those thoughts that you're having, like if you're thinking, if you're running the race and you're thinking, I'm not going to finish, I'm not going to finish, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much, like you often don't get the score that you want, or you don't get the time that you want, or you don't cross and place the way that you want to. Versus if I told myself, like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you've practiced, you can do it, like those races were always better for me. So a lot of this was just like hearing it and just being around it, but then also just me putting it into practice of that self-talk. And so that's where I started that journey. And then it wasn't until college when I actually took a psychology class and started to learn more about this that I really started studying it, really started opening my eyes to what an actual mindset practice is and how you can apply it to all different areas of life, not just sports. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. And you're so lucky to get that so early. I mean, I wish that we taught that in schools all over the place. And it's so important, especially in sports, yeah, like you say. So okay, so you've been an athlete, like obviously you've had to push yourself, you've learned so much that has really helped you on the path to achieving more, if we can put it that way. And so you've been in the tech industry. How was your journey from there into starting your own business? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I actually started my own business even before I worked in tech. So I started my own business because I was working in the entertainment industry like right out of college. And that industry it's a crazy industry. I'll just say that. And I got a little burnt out in that industry. And I had a friend at the time who also worked in the entertainment industry, and she went and did something different. She started working for like a recruiting company. And then she broke all the company records and just like did such a great job. And it just didn't work out there. Like she wanted a raise in her commissions, and they basically told her no. I don't know all the specific details, but she was a top performer, and they basically told her no. So she knew that I went to business school and that I had already always wanted to start my own business. I was getting a little burnt out in the entertainment industry. And so she said, "Hey, I'm going to come back to LA. Do you want to start this business with me?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we started a staffing, like recruiting company. And I did that with her for a couple years. And then she ended up having to leave the business. And so I continued the business. And that is how I got into that business. I just like fell into it. I had no plan. I just, I was young. I was like early 20s, right? I was like, I can do anything. So let's just start a business. My dad was an attorney. He had his own practice. So I had some exposure to owning your own business earlier on in life. And so I knew that that was what I always wanted to do. I never wanted to work a corporate job or do anything like that. So anyway, I started this business, and it was okay. Like it was definitely rough in the beginning, as any business is, as doing anything new really is. But I got through it. And again, when I started that business, it was really hard. I was young, and I was in a somewhat male dominant industry because I was basically selling staffing and recruiting services into tech companies. And it was a very male dominant industry. And so I had to this was before social media. This is really before online marketing. So when I started this business, and this is like 17 years ago, I think at this point,
Wow.
I was cold calling into companies. Now, let's talk about mindset. When you were having to cold call, like I felt like a telemarketer. Like it was the worst. Like every day I dreaded it. Like people would hang up on me. They would like yell at me. I was like bothering them in their day. Like it was just a really bad, I just hated it. But I knew that like if I wanted to have a successful business, like I needed to do the things that would get me successful. And so again, it was mindset. It was like I read this book called, I think it was from Brian Tracy. It was called Eat That Frog. And it was literally like, do the thing that you dread, but the most important thing, like do that the beginning of the day. Like just eat the frog, right? Just get it out the way. And then the rest of your day is good because you did the thing that you really needed to do that's going to drive results, that's going to give you the outcome that you want. And so that's what I had to do. It was 50 dials a day. Like I had to make 50 phone calls a day. And mind you, like I had no boss like breathing over me, like telling me to do this. Like there is, as business owners, we can make so many excuses of like, oh, I got this to do or I have this to do, and not do the thing we actually need to do that gives us the results. So I sucked it up. I made a game out of it. I made it a system, and I did 50 dials a day. And then, I grew the business like crazy and we did really well. One of my consulting clients is the tech company that actually hired me to come on as an executive. And they were raising money, and I was really interested in the technology, and they were in my industry, was really interested in the technology. I loved the CEO. He's like such a great human being. And so I ran my business on the side of having that tech job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I did that for 6 years. And then we moved to Colorado, and I ended at the tech company, still had my other business. And then that's when I launched my second business, which is supporting moms around all these things that we're talking about today.
Oh, wow. So, that's so interesting. Have you always been that driven, Loni?
I have always been driven. I've definitely been like, if there like all the way from like the first grade spelling bee, like I had to be number one. There was a lady, Carmen Chang, Carmen Chang and me, we were battling it out every single week of like, who's going to win the spelling bee that week, in class. And it was just, like I got into the gifted program. They call it GATE here in the United States. Like I got into that when I was in like second or third grade. So just since like young kid, I've just been really ambitious. If there was a trophy to be won or an award or something, like I wanted to exceed it. And then of course, being an athlete, it's very competitive, you just get that competitive spirit. So yeah. And I graduated high school in 3 years. I graduated college in 3 years. People are like, what? Why are you doing this? Like, it's like torture for yourself. I'm just like, ah.
And you were having fun doing it, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm having fun. I always like to push myself. I always like to push myself to the limit. And what I found for myself, and again, this goes back to your mindset and your own, just like knowing yourself. Like for me, in order to hit the goals that I want, in order to like actually go for it and be motivated, I have to set like really high bar for myself, really high goals. If the goal is mediocre, I get bored and I just don't even try for it. So it was like after I had my first child, I had a little extra baby weight, like we all, like us moms, we have, those last like 15, 20 pounds you need to get rid of after the baby. And it was like, I didn't want to just like hire a trainer and just like lose a few pounds. Like I hired like the best trainer, and he like coached women to like fitness competitions. And so I'm like, I want to lose this weight. And he's like, how about we just do a fitness competition? And I was like, yes, that'll help me like get to the gym every day, do the things I need to do. So I did a fitness competition. Like it was like, my husband's like, you're so extreme. And so here I am, like amateur at a fitness competition. All these women are like amazing. And I'm like, I just had a baby not too long ago. And I placed third.
Oh my
I placed third in a fitness competition. Like it was like bodybuilding. I'm like, but like my husband's like, you couldn't just like lose the 20 pounds. You have to like do a fitness competition. But I know myself, for my mindset, for my, just for me to get me going, I have to have these big goals in order to do what I need to do to stick with things. And it makes me excited and motivated. So I know that about myself. So I'm always trying to like put these people would think it's almost unrealistic goals in front of myself, but that's what gets me there. Like when I started my business, I was like, I want a 7-figure business. And people are like, do you realize that only like 2% of businesses are 7-figure businesses? And then how many of them are owned by women? Like a fraction of that, And I was like, well, that's the goal, 7-figure business. And I did it, So it's just like, if I have those ambitious goals, I like strive more and I put more effort into it and I'm more motivated.
I love
That's how
that
my
about
mindset works.
I love that about you, Lani, and it really resonates with how I function as well. And we're all different. We're wired differently, and of course, the experience of you being an athlete at a young age, that it sets the bar. You have pushed through so many things. There's no going back after you have achieved great things. Like the dopamine system doesn't work like that. You need more and more to get that same feeling. So. Yeah, and I applaud that. I think it's really great. And that brings me over to, okay, and how was your transition into motherhood, like being that ambitious driven woman who got everything sorted, running two businesses, and then mom life? What happened? Tell us about it.
Well, it was basically like being hit by a bus. It's like how we describe it. I mean, when you think of my personality, very type A, very like I'm on it, I have the plan, I like hit the goals, like I do all the things, and it's within your control, so to speak, sort of. Then you become a mom and all of that goes out the window. Like your routines, your systems, all your things. It's like laughable, right? It's like I'm like, oh, so it was literally like world turned upside down, and so my like mental health took a hit. My like career like was all over the place. It was definitely a traumatic time, like from what I was used to. And so then I started doing research because I remember I was actually still working in tech as an executive at the startup when I had my first daughter. And at that point I was working like 80 to 100-hour weeks. Like that is, and I was fine with it. Like I love it. I was ambitious. I like, I did a lot of things at an age that like many people don't do things. And so I was fine with it. Like, this is what I wanted to do. I didn't burn myself out. I still took care of myself, but I was working like seriously, like 80 to 100-hour weeks. And when you have a new baby, like a newborn, it is really hard to do that. And I started to question whether I could do career and mom well. Like it was really this thing that almost every working mom goes through is like, can I be good at both? Because it feels like I need to choose one. Like I need to either choose going all in on my career or being a good mom, because it really just doesn't seem like you can do both effectively well without like completely burning yourself out and having nothing for yourself. And so I got to that point where it's like most women get, where like you have to pick one or the other. And but I thought to myself, like being the Loni that I am, and like when people say no, that can be done, it makes me want to do it even more. So I was like, wait, why? Like, why do women have to choose? Like, why do we have to put our careers, put our goals on hold in order to be a good mom? Like, there has to be a way to get this to work, to where I don't have to make a choice and I can still be the mom that I want to be. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up applying how I do business to motherhood. Like I was so good at like operationalizing my business and building in systems, and because I was still running a business and I was also working 80 to 100 hours in tech, right? So I'm like, surely if this can be done, like I can figure out motherhood, like, so I was like, I'm obviously, I got clear on like, what do I really want? I can't work 100-hour weeks. That's just not going to be feasible. And then be a really good mom. But what I've learned is that with systems, you can optimize your time. And so what I got clear on was, if I only have 24 hours a day and at least 6 to 7 of those hours need to be sleeping. So then I have this many hours left and that's it. Like we all only get 24 hours a day, right? And so what I learned to do was I optimized the crap out of those hours that I had. And I was like, okay, I want to spend quality time with my baby, not quantity. I think a lot of moms think quantity is value, but honestly, I think spending 8 distracted hours with your kid where you're not present, I almost think that's worse than spending 2 really present hours with your kid, right? So for me, I just got really clear on what are my values and what am I okay with? And I'm okay with sleeping 6 to 7 hours. I'm okay with working, this many hours, and I'm okay with spending this many quality present hours with my kid. And so I mapped that out and I said, okay, here's all that I need to do. Let's fit it in to like these. And that's what I did. And what I've learned was that, yes, there were times I actually did not suffer from the extreme mom guilt that a lot of moms suffer from, because I was really clear on what I wanted and what being a good mom was for me. And it took me about 8 months to learn that. So the first 8 months of being a mom, I experienced the guilt. But then it was after that I would learn that I was living someone else's definition of what being a good mom was. And because you get that from society, you get that either from your own family and how your own mom or grandma did motherhood, you get it from TV, you get it from social media. And so you start to see these representations of what being a good mom is. And I started to try to live by that, but for myself, it just didn't fit. And so what I had to do 8 months into being a mom was recreate for myself what is my definition of what a good mom is to me. And that's when I figured out, all the hours and figured out what I needed to do. And that's when I was able to combat that mom guilt, so to speak, because I knew that I was operating from my values and from what I thought was a good mom for myself. And so for me, that looked like not homemaking every single meal. That looked like not homemaking every snack my kid had, because someone else's definition was that every kid had homemade snacks. And that was not my definition. And so normally that would make someone feel guilty. Oh, this mom over here makes homemade snacks. I don't. I feel guilty. I'm a bad mom. I was able to squash that because I was like, I am not a bad mom if I don't home make my kids snacks. I buy store-bought snacks, but I make sure to buy the healthiest store-bought snacks that I can. They're not loaded with preservatives and artificial flavors and sugars and all of that. They're store-bought, but they're the healthiest that, they can be. My kids eat vegetables and fruits, right? Like it's fine, right? If they have to have a store-bought snack or a store-bought lunch, like they're not going to die, like this is my definition. And so that's what allowed me to deal with some of that guilt. But the interesting thing is, and so I experienced something called reverse mom guilt, which no one ever talks about. No one ever talks about this. I swear if you Google this, there's been like 2 articles on it. And I'm like, I'm okay to talk about this because I have no shame, because most moms don't talk about reverse guilt because of fear of judgment. So what reverse guilt is like, so for example, for me, my definition is I work 8 hours a day and I'm okay with that. And I take care of myself. I have self-care days for myself. I'm like, bye to my husband, take the kids. I don't want to be next to any of you guys today. It's a self-care day for me. I'm going to go to the spa. I'm going to go do some yoga. I'm going to go for a hike. This is my day and I'm going to enjoy it, right? Reverse guilt is when you're out taking care of yourself or doing anything that you want and you actually don't feel guilty for doing that. So you actually, you feel, but then what happens is you feel guilty for not feeling guilty. Isn't this crazy phenomenon? Like I actually was sitting there like, I feel guilty that I don't feel any guilt of being away from my family and enjoying this so much. Like it's so crazy that this is a thing, but moms who even decide to take care of themselves, they feel guilty for not feeling mom guilt. They feel guilty for not feeling guilty. And here's the thing, guilt in the body and guilt in terms of your mental health, it's still guilt. So whether you're feeling guilt because you're away from your kids or you're feeling guilty because you're not feeling guilty for being away from your kids, it's still all guilt and it's still not great. So the reverse guilt you still have to deal with, right? And the reverse guilt no one talks about because who wants to admit that they don't feel guilty Who
Yeah,
wants to admit that they like feel guilty for not feeling guilty about being, away from their families?
no,
No
it's
one, right?
even more shameful, right?
It's
Because
more
you're
shameful.
supposed to feel guilty.
You're supposed to feel guilty, and you're sitting there like, I don't feel guilty. I'm loving not being around my kids. I love my kids, but like I enjoy not being around them 24/7. Like this is nice for me. I'm enjoying my alone time. And so because no one talks about reverse guilt because no one wants to admit that, that they don't have guilt when they're away from their families.
Ooh.
But anyway, so that is, and so I just got fascinated with mom guilt, the traditional mom guilt and the reverse mom guilt, right? I was really fascinated about that. And so I started to study it and I started to interview women about it, talk to clients about it. And do you know that like 87% of moms experience mom guilt,
Oh,
some form of mom guilt.
oh,
Like
wow.
it is literally almost everyone. And I that was one study. Another study that I saw was like 93%, but regardless of the percentages, it's a lot of percentage of moms that experience some form of mom guilt. And the bad thing about mom guilt is the impact that it has not only on our mindset, but also on our energy levels, also just our overall happiness in life. I don't enjoy every minute of motherhood, and a lot of women don't, and they feel guilty for saying that, and they feel like judgment and shame. And I just think motherhood as it is, I just think it needs to change. Like my mission is we should do motherhood differently. And I have two young girls, and my goal is with all this work that I'm doing, my goal is that by the time my girls become moms, if they want to become moms, that motherhood looks different. I think a lot of women aren't enjoying motherhood. They hate parts of motherhood, and they don't feel even comfortable saying that or admitting that because of the judgment and shame that's around motherhood. And it's basically like if you don't enjoy every single minute of motherhood, and if you don't put all of your energy and effort 100% into your kids, you're a bad mom. And I just think that that's just not, it's just not right. And I'm just like, for like centuries, this is how it's been. And why? Right? Like, I think the world is better when women and moms are happy. Like,
Yeah,
it just
totally.
is. And they're not, and they can't even do anything about it because they're afraid to even get help. They're afraid to even talk about it. They're afraid to even do anything about it or change it. So
Yeah.
they just go on with the status quo. And I'm just like, I'm over that.
So you're supposed to be happy when you have kids and you're supposed to enjoy it and you're supposed to feel guilty if you don't spend time with your kids. And it's just like, as you say, the definition of motherhood, the expectations from society, which we also take on in the end. It is really destroying, our relationship to ourselves and our kids because, as you say, guilt, it is destroying us from the inside. It does set off the stress hormones, and it's not good for health, it's not good for energy. And like, this, Lonnie, and when you've taken care of yourself, when you had one of those self-care days, you've been to the spa, you've been hiking, when you get back to your kids, you're the best mom ever, right?
The best,
The
the
best.
best, the
And,
best.
and if you just like picture this, if you were home the whole day, just like cooking, washing, cleaning, and you had work to do, and you had to be like, you didn't have quality time, you're stressing around, the kids were there, and you weren't present with them because you had so much on your mind, and then you're feeling guilty because you're not managing to do all your work, and there's like you're stretched. Are you a good mom when you're in that sort of state? You're not, right?
No, no, they see you at your worst pretty much.
Yeah. And in the end, I love what you say about being present, having that quality time. And I work a lot with people who have low self-esteem. And it almost always comes back to parents not seeing them, not giving them the attention that they needed. So if you're away at work and they're with another family member or a caretaker, they have attention. Someone is taking care of them. If you're there but you're not there, you're not giving them attention, and that is, for our brains, is really dangerous for the kids. It's like, okay, if mom just, she's there but she's not there, they sense when we're not there, their brains will interpret that as, okay, I'm not valuable enough. And that it again will affect their self-esteem. So, you know, I love what you say of, okay, when you're there, it's 100%, it's quality time and you're present and you're a good mom because you've been taking care of yourself.
Right, right. And I explain this, kids, even though they're young, they can understand so much. And so when I tell them, I work from home and they're like there and they want to play and I have to work, and I tell them, mommy works and daddy works. So we have money and we can live in this house and we can buy these toys and those clothes that you want and all the things. Like we're teaching them that, the value of money and you work, but I'm like, but because I own my own business, I can still see you in the day. So I still will have lunch with them, right? But we have these dedicated times and they know that when work is over and I close the office door and I turn the light off, then we get playtime with mommy. So they understand and they are okay with it. Like my daughter, she has a little play laptop and she says, okay, you're going to go work, mommy, and I'm going to go work. And she has her little play. It's like a leapfrog and it teaches her how to like count the numbers and everything. But it's like a little laptop, cause she sees me working on my laptop. And so she's like, okay, mom. And she's 4, by the way. She's like, okay, mommy, have a good day at work. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to work too on my laptop, on her laptop. But it's like,
Aw.
she sees that, and then at the end of the day, she puts her laptop up. I put my laptop up and we're playing and we're having fun and we're playing dolls and doing all the things. She helps me cook dinner, right? So, I mean, it can be, yes, I'm not with her 12 hours
Well, you can't be.
like I'm not with her that whole time, but she sometimes walks by my office and she waves and says "Flo." Or when I was working in corporate and actually going into actual office, I would FaceTime her when I was on my breaks, and I would FaceTime my girl and say hi and see what she's doing. So there's ways to make the time quality that you have, but it is about understanding what is good for you, explaining that to your family, and then being okay with it and not feeling the guilt around it.
Mm.
And I knew for myself, I said, if I was quit working and was a stay-at-home mom, which again, like there are a lot of stay-at-home moms and it's amazing if that's what you love and that's what you value, amazing, right? But like if I did that, I myself, for me, wouldn't be happy because I'm this ambitious woman and I would lose a complete side of myself versus I have friends that when they were in junior high, they knew they wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. They went to high school, they went to college, they got married, and they became a stay-at-home mom. And that is what they wanted, and that gives them joy.
Yeah.
And like they should do that. No one, like they would feel so bad if someone told them they had to work all day because their dream is to be a stay-at-home mom and they can do that. My dream was not to be a stay-at-home mom. My dream was to have a business and to have a career and to be financially free and right and not have to depend on a man for money. Like that was my dream. No dream is right or wrong, right? This is all to each his own, right? But for me, that was what I wanted. And so I had to set my life up in a way that gave me that, in a way that I was okay with, and not let the outside opinions of like, why are you working? You can't be a good mom if you're working. Like I had to let all of that go because my mom worked and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I thought she did a great job given the resources that she had. And you see so many other cases. I have people who had stay-at-home moms and they're dealing with issues too. Like there's no right or wrong. It doesn't mean that your kids, whatever decision you made, are screwed. Like any situation, it could be bad, right? Like any situation. So you just have to focus on your own values and what your definition of what being a good mom is.
Yeah, I love that. Getting clear on your values and creating your own definition, because if you're not living aligned to your values, if you're living someone else's definition of success or motherhood, you won't be happy and your kids will know it. The thing you're doing, Lonnie, is being the best role model they can have. You are taking care of yourself, you're living your life, and you're being there for them. So imagine if you were not taking care of yourself, if you were only there for the kids, what would you be teaching them? When they had kids on their own, when they have kids on their own, at some point, they would be like, okay, my motherhood to me is putting myself aside and just serving, serving, serving. that's not what you want your kids to do. You don't want your kids to put their own needs aside and just burn out and stop fulfilling their dreams. You want them to be happy. You want them to take care of themselves and fulfill their dreams. And the only way, or not the only way, but the best way you can do that to your kids is by actually doing it yourself, being that role
Right.
model. Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Because they learn more from what you do versus what you say, right?
absolutely, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it's like, a lot of women, they feel like their worth comes, their like own self worth comes from what they're doing, like with their family and their household. For me, I don't clean. Like I barely clean the house. I have like literally right now I have a lady here. I love her. She's a friend now, but she cleans my house. She is literally vacuuming, dusting, doing all the things because I'm running a business. And again, I told you in the beginning, I only have so many hours in the day. And so I have to get really, really like rigid with how I spend that time. And for me, I don't get my self worth is not me dusting and vacuuming the house. I would rather spend that time with present hours with my kids. So my lady is here all day. I'm gonna, be here with you. And then in an hour, I'm going to be having lunch with my daughter and she's going to be cleaning my house. And I am okay with that. There are so many women that feel like, oh, you are not a good wife. You're not a good mom if you don't clean your house. I'm like, who said that? Like that is not my value. I'm sorry. And so I had to separate that. I had to separate other people's value and definition of what being a good mother was, because to me, cleaning the house is not it for me. Like that is a waste of my time. Like if you look at like what your hourly rate is, I could pay someone, less than it would cost me to do this work. And so like, and that's how again, this is what I did in my business, right? Like I own a VA staffing company and I try to get business owners. I'm like, why are you doing a $10 an hour task with your time when you can hire a VA to do this $10 an hour task? You should be doing the $300 an hour task in your business, not the $10 an hour task. So I applied this to my business. I'm like, why can't I apply this to motherhood too? Like my time as a mother is worth $500 an hour. And that is playing with my kids, being with my kids, helping them do their homework, going outside and getting outdoors with them. That's what I would call a $500 task if we were applying it to business. Cleaning my house and dusting is a $10 an hour task, right? So again, I'm optimizing my time as a mom the same way I optimize my time as a business owner. And so again, it just comes to our definition and where we get our self-worth from. And for me, I got clear. It's not from dusting and cleaning the house.
So agree. So I started out motherhood with this ambition of I'm gonna do it everything because I love doing stuff and managing stuff. So I was like, the house is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna cook everything, and do all the work with the kids. And I had two kids, like with 21 months in between, so they're quite tight. And a friend of mine told me, she's like, Anakin, no one is going to give you a gold medal for all the work you're doing at home. Get help. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. So ever since, we've had help in the house as well. And it's a game changer. Exactly what you're saying. Like you have those 24 hours, you need to sleep certain amount of those hours. What you choose to do with the rest of the hours. Like, yeah, and we're all in different positions. We all live different lives. Someone wants to stay at home. Someone enjoys cooking. That's like their top passion. You know,
Yes.
for me, my work is my passion, and my kids and the playtime we have as a family. That's my passion. So, as I'm setting up my life so that we can have more family playtime. We go snowboarding every weekend. We go surfing every day, at least when we were in California. Right now, it's winter in Norway. So, it's like setting up the life. Like, we need to decide what is a success for us? What is a successful life? How do we want our life to be? And we've said no to everything on the weekends. Like if people invite us for birthday parties, like whatever, um, It's always a no because weekends is family time. It's like we go to the mountains, period. I don't work. If there's a keynote, something, I say no because it's family time. So it's our priority. And I see so many families, because they don't have clarity on their values, they're saying yes to everything, and
Yeah.
ending up living a life that is not fulfilled, where they're actually not reaching any goals because they have no idea what they want, and they're just saying yes to everything, and their calendar is packed and they're not happy. So I think what you're pointing at there is really finding your definition of motherhood. What is supposed, like, what do you want it to look like, and then starting to apply that. And I can imagine, I'm really curious to hear more about how you teach moms how to do this and the experience you have. Like, obviously, both you and me are driven, and I've always like, okay, I'm going to do my own things and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Still, how can we, for moms who are feeling guilty, and like, what's the best approach?
So when I work with people, and this is not even like paid people, this is just like anyone who I come across, I talk about this concept of retrescence. It's kind of like adolescence. And so it blew my mind when I learned about this term. Apparently, it actually is from the 70s. It was coined by this anthropologist, Donna Raphael, and she coined this term matrescence. And it was very similar to adolescence, but this was around the like women's kind of feminist like area and a time of history. And so it died. Like it died because it was like a feminist movement and all of that. And so this term that was coined way back then, it died. It was resurrected just within the last like 5-ish years. And now there's like a whole movement around matrescence, but it's very similar to adolescence. So if you think about what adolescence is, it is when a child, it's that period when a child becomes an adult. And they call it the like awkward teenage years, right? This is adolescence. And, but if you think about it, when a child's becoming an adult, they're going through this awkward phase of adolescence. It's hormonal. There's physical changes. There are emotional, mental changes, social changes. So it's just like all like, hormones, physical, like everything is changing in the body, like, and in the world of a child becoming an adult. And so there's this awkward adolescent stage, and we give these teenagers a lot of grace because they're going through adolescence and their body's going through everything, and there's all these changes, right? The thing is with mothers, matrescence is basically that stage of when a woman becomes a mother. And similar to adolescence, it's hormonal, there's physical changes, mental, like psychological, emotional, social, right? So it's literally all the things, if you think about it, when a woman becomes a mother. And you go through this journey, but it's different. Mothers don't get the same grace that adolescents do. And matrescence is trying to give moms the same amount of grace. Like it should be the same. Oh, she's going through motherhood. It's matrescence. We need to give them some grace. She's not crazy, right? Like her hormones are all over the place. Her physical body is all over the place. Her emotions are all over the place. Psychologically, she's all over the place, right? Like there's like this. And so before matrescence became this thing, you were either loving and enjoying every moment of motherhood, or on this side you were like clinically depressed. You had a PMD, was it a postpartum mood disorder? Call it postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, like all the things, right? So you're either clinically going through a PMD, or you're like loving every minute of motherhood. This whole gray area in between, matrescence, right? And there's this really amazing TED talk by this doctor. Her name is Dr. Alexander Sachs. And she was so fascinated with matrescence because she said there's women coming to her and they were like, I don't know, I'm like, I think I have postpartum depression. I'm going crazy. Like, I just hate this. Like, fix me. And the thing is, they were not clinically depressed. They did not have postpartum depression. They did not have a postpartum mood disorder. They were quote unquote fine, right? Like you're not clinically depressed, but they're like, but I'm not enjoying every minute of motherhood. I don't love it. I think I'm failing. I like wake up stressed every day. I'm overwhelmed. And, you know, and it's matrescence and it's normal. And so it's like, yes, it's okay to not be clinically depressed, not enjoy every minute of motherhood because you're going through matrescence. It's this huge transformation, like adolescence, right? And so we now, as women and as moms, we get the permission to not be okay in motherhood, right? We get the permission to be like, I don't enjoy motherhood. I hate this right now. I like need support. I need help. I'm feeling judged. I don't love myself anymore. I don't like how I look. My hormones are everywhere. I'm emotional. It's okay. It's normal. And so when I work with people, I start there. I start there because it's just this huge unlock for yourself to feel okay, to feel like there's nothing wrong with me for not enjoying motherhood. There's nothing wrong with me for not wanting to spend every minute of the day with my kids. There's nothing wrong with me when I'm feeling all this guilt. Like this is part of it. So it's like understanding that first and then moving through, okay, what's your definition of motherhood? What's your identity now that you're a mom? Because we're not going back to like who we were before motherhood, right? Like you would never tell someone who has just gone through adolescence, right? Now you're an adult, like, but the goal is to get back to what you were before, right? Like now you want to get back to like when you were a child. Like that would be insane, right? Same thing with matrescence. Like you become a mom now. There's no like this whole idea of like I got to get back to where I was before I had a baby. Like no, we are now different, right? Same like a child is now an adult. They've gone through adolescence. There's this period you never go back. Same thing with motherhood. You've gone through matrescence, right? And matrescence can last decades, right? But you've gone through matrescence. You're never getting back to who you were before you became a mom. Like that is not the goal. The goal is what's your identity now that you're a mom? What are your goals now that you're a mom? What is your definition of success and life for yourself now that you're a mom? How are you going to deal with all the matrescence things? Like, what are all those tools that you're going to use? Mindset, whatever, right? Like, what are all the tools, the systems, the habits that you're going to have now that you're a mom and you're going through matrescence? How are you dealing with all the emotional stuff and all the mental things and all the guilt? Like, how you need the tools, you need the habits, you need the systems, right, for your life to put that in place so that you can feel not like a crazy person all the time. So this is the work that I'm doing and what I'm so passionate about, because I feel like if moms figure this out, everything changes. Like you now, like you have, like I like to say, you have control over your life. Cause when you're a mom, it just feels like everything's out of control. I have a lot of clients that are like, I just wake up and I feel like my head's underwater. And all I'm trying to do is like get my head above water for the day. And you're just going through this like reactive day and you don't feel on top of it and you don't feel successful and you don't feel in control and you feel like everything is spiraling and you're just like tired and exhausted, right? And so when you do this, everything unlocks, right? You have permission, you have time, you have more energy. And for me, it's transformational. Like I feel like every mom needs to go through this and understand it so that they can just enjoy motherhood better.
Oh, that's so huge. And yes, like no one prepares us for what we're going to experience when we become mothers. Like the idea in society is when you become a mother, you'll be so happy. It's going to be so romantic. It's going to boost your relationship to your partner. No, 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 no.
No. It does the opposite, actually.
So it's like we have this idea, like romantic idea about what it's supposed to be. And I think there's such a huge contrast between our the picture we have of it and what the reality really is, as you're describing. Right. It's like that feeling of not even getting your head above the water. It is like that. And as you said, the feeling like you've been hit by a bus. I had that exact same feeling. Like I lost myself when I had kids. I was like, my identity, everything that is me, is just like out. It's gone. Who am I? I had a huge crisis, and it's just like, yeah, we all go through that at some sort at some level. Some have, they only want to become a mother and they find themselves when they become a mother. Still, they're going through a transition. Still, they're not sleeping. Still, it's the hormones. There's so much stuff, and we need to address it. So I'm so thankful for the work you're doing and your mission, because it's so important.
Yes, thank you.
And so tell me, okay, so first of all, it's defining, our definition of motherhood, how we really want it to look like. And then, yes, we need help to support ourselves in everyday life. So you're a systems girl. So Loni, tell us about how you've built up your systems and what you are putting out to the world pretty soon, right?
Yes, yes. So, one of the things that I've learned over time, and this is my own journey with motherhood, and then I hear from so many other moms, is like, one, women in general tend to live in the feminine energy and they go with the flow, and everything is, emotional, and it's very feminine energy. I was born not with a lot of feminine energy. I'm a very masculine energy person, and this is part of my like type A, like this, but this is where my systems side comes from. It's a very masculine thing. And so I think a lot of women tend to not really be naturally inclined to systems. But I always was, because I have a more masculine energy about me. And so I am very like systems, like focused. And so for me, that was a big unlock for me, that I think of really what has separated me from a lot of the other moms that I see, when they just feel like they can't manage it all and they're juggling so much and everything's falling apart and they're forgetting things. Like, it's just like the mom that feels so much guilt because she forgot it was pajama day and the kid went to school in regular clothes and all the other kids were in pajama day. And it was like the mom feels so bad and she feels so guilty, and it's just like, that to me is just like, you just need a system, right? Like you relying on your brain, mom brain, like you relying on mom brain is not a good system, right? And so many people think like, oh, I'm not good at systems. I'm like, no, everything's a system. You have a system that you're doing, it's just not effective, right? So you relying on your brain is a system, right? Or you putting stuff on Post-it notes, and whatever, like that's a system, right? So for me, I was like, how do I optimize mom life the same way that I would like, do my business, right? Like we talked about earlier. In my business, it operates off of systems. Like everything's a system. Like I have a team. And if I want to make sure the team is doing what they need to do, we have an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure, which is a system, right? And they follow the SOP, and that's how you don't forget things. That's how you don't make mistakes, right? Like everything in my business is a system. I'm like, motherhood, it needs to be the same. So I have a system for everything. Meal planning, it's a system. I don't like to cook. But I also don't want to order and eat out, every single day either. That's not like great healthy, but I also don't want to home cook every meal. It's not my joy. If it were, then I would dedicate time to do that. But cooking for me is not my joy. So I have a system. Like I don't think about it. Like we have the same thing every first and third Monday. I call it a rotational menu, but we have the same thing every first and third Monday of the month. And every first and, second and third Monday of the month, we have something else. But it just takes the thinking out of it. I batch cook. So I cook in the beginning of the week and then we freeze some meals and so I have systems across my entire life. How I do meal planning, how I do schoolwork, how, how we remember things that the teachers send us, right? Like everything is a system. And so one of the things that I really needed to systematize was the mental load that we carry as moms. This was everything for me. Like moms carry such a huge mental load. If you think about, we have to remember the doctor's appointments. We have to remember, like my husband's like, what's the kid's blood type? Like what's their medical record number? I'm trying to like get into the system. What's the medical record number? Like everything is like the mental load. And so I created this, and we're right about to launch this, and it'll be launched probably by the time this episode airs, but I have this mom life operating system, and it literally reduces the mental load like all the way down to basically nothing. I'm like, this is how, as a mom, this is how you remember everything without remembering anything. Everything goes into this system. We have all of our appliances in the house, all the things you forget. Like, what's the serial number on your refrigerator? I don't know. I got to go dig it up and everything, right? Just imagine the time suck of just like all these little things that pop up throughout the day that you, as the mom, have to go and dig up, or have to go and remember, or have to go look up, or have to go sort through the junk drawer that has the thing, right? Like, just all of that. And so everything, it's all digitized. Everything goes into one place. You never have to worry about forgetting pajama day. You never have to worry about what are we cooking and what grocery lists we need to have. You never have to worry about when the kid's next appointment needs to be scheduled, when they're due for whatever, right? All of that is in one place. So for me, this is the one system in my life that like has changed everything. It frees up my mental energy, which then frees up my physical energy. I'm not constantly thinking about stuff all day, because how can I work if I'm constantly thinking about like, oh my God, what does my daughter have to, when's that due? When is that project due? When does she have to go here? Like all the things, right? It's just so freeing when you don't have that mental load draining and hanging on you every day. Like when my moms say, oh, I wake up and I'm just like my head's underwater, a lot of it has to do with the mental load that they're carrying. And so that's step number one. We got to get rid of that mental load. And I start with the system, the operating system with everyone. And then we move on to like all of the other areas. But this is the big thing. I mean, just think about how much you have to think about on a daily basis to run your household and to like have kids, right? And then you add, if you work and you add your work and career, or if you run a business, add all of that mental load that you're thinking about. It's too much.
It's it's so true. Like it's the mental load, and for some reason we can discuss why it is us moms who sit there and have to remember whatever we need to send, pack the lunches or the clothes, the extra stuff the kids need for school, and all the play dates they have. Like we are the ones carrying that mental load for some reason. The men, they, I don't know why, but they don't carry it, do they?
They don't. They get to just ask you as the mom and you tell them. They get
Yeah.
easy. They get easy. And that just, and call it like, it's not that their brains can't carry this. It's just more natural, for the moms to like have everything, right? And,
Yeah.
honestly, moms don't feel comfortable relying on the dad brain,
No, no, no.
And so we don't even when we should put things on them, we don't.
Oh, that's such a huge point because they don't remember it anyway, do they? No, I so like this is so huge, and I'm like, yeah, I need that operating system myself, Lonnie. I'm so gonna
Yes.
get it when it comes out because yeah, it's that mental load. Like there's always, and I like I really want my life to be simple because if it's not simple, I won't have the time and energy and focus available to go after my goals. Like that, it's just not possible. Like there's a limit to how much you can focus on, how many things you can carry, like the mental load, there is a limit. And just putting it all into systems so you get it out of your head. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to remember it. Like it will make your life so much better. How many moms are struggling with sleep because there's so much they need to remember? Like they're lying in bed,
Yeah.
"Well, need to remember that and this and that." Like when you can take all of that out of your head, life just opens up to so many possibilities.
Yeah. And there's so much research on the mind body like connection. And so when you're loaded mentally, like it takes a physical toll on you. Like I have clients that are like, oh my gosh, not only do I have time now to actually go to the gym, but like all those stubborn pounds actually came off because there is this connection between your mental and your physical. And when you're not getting the sleep that you need and you're mentally strained and mentally stressed all day, like you can go to the gym, those pounds aren't falling off. And so I had clients that have like experienced all kinds of breakthroughs in other areas of their life just because they've dealt with the mom guilt and the mindset and the mental load of everything.
Oh, that's huge. And it's so true. And we don't have mental capacity for everything. Feeling guilty and remembering all that stuff, that can be enough. And that, if our mental capacity is filled. that's it. So I love your mission. I love your message. And we need to get this out to all moms.